Secretary Sta.çé, I want to thank you for visiting me in jail.
Yes, of course. I came to tell you some exciting news.
Exciting news? Oh! Do we have a baby on the way? Oh my gosh, Secretary Sta.çé! Here, do me a favor. Go ahead. Put your hand on the glass. We need to feel that connection. We need to show that love, okay? Love to that child inside of that belly of yours.
What? Gross? No, I am not having a child. But nice try. I'm here to tell you that there's new figures to review when you get out.
Yeah, I guess I figured that wouldn't be the case, considering what it involves. But anyways, I am excited about the figures. What are they?
It's the Dominik Mysterio and Rhea Ripley Main Event 2-pack.
Oh, right on. I was expecting that 2-pack. And I know we don't review men's wrestling figures in LumberJillville. That's just against what we do here. But I'm actually excited to review the Dom. In fact, I've been doing a lot of thinking inside the Slammer, and I come to realize that Dom and I were not so different. As a matter of fact, I smuggled in this Dominik Mysterio Elite with me into jail.
Wait, how did you smuggle the Dom figure into jail?
Yeah, you really don't want to know how I smuggled this Dom into jail with me.
This moron is acting like Facebook jail is an actual jail. Our mayor is an idiot. And shame on Secretary Sta.çé for buying into it and sucking up to him.
Oh, hey, that reminds me. Secretary Sta.çé, did you happen to bring the nail file that I need, so I can dig my way out a little early? I'm not meant for jail. I'm too wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started, I just want to remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews. Now today's review is going to be a little different because here in LumberJillville, I only review women's wrestling figures. My goal is to raise the respect level, the awareness, and the love for women's wrestling figures in the collecting community. But today's 2-pack features Rhea Ripley and Dom. I gotta review Dom, right? I mean, I just have to. I can't skip over it. So in this instance, I am going to review both figures included in this 2-pack. But I'm pretty excited. There were some questions I had online as far as scaling goes, but we'll find out how it looks once we open it up. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this figure, starting off with the packaging. Alright, so let's start off with the packaging here. Now, this is technically the very first Main Event Showdown 2-pack that I've reviewed. This is a continuation of the Championship Showdown 2-pack line, which is why it says Series 18. But it's just a rebranding, I guess you could say. Just like how the Basic Series changed the name to Main Event Series. And I really, really like it. It makes it feel extra special. And honestly, in my opinion, the Championship Showdown 2-packs over the last few years were an absolute mess as far as the gimmicks they tried to include. The failed gimmicks they tried to include, I should say. Which at one point included display stands that look like championship titles. And then 2 plastic prongs that go up and go around the waist of the figure so you could kind of display them. It was really crappy gimmick, and they made the transition into the title belts with the custom side plates. And I like that, and it works here, obviously, but I would love to have these Main Event Showdown 2-packs in the future include something other than a title, whether it be a chair or a ladder or another accessory that's relative to the 2 figures included in the packaging. Because this right here gives me Battle Pack vibes, and that makes me so happy. I miss the Battle Packs. I really do. So yeah, I really like this. Now, the one thing I will say, is I did order this 2-pack from Wrestling Collector Shop. The reason being I pre-order all my figures from ringsidecollectibles.com, and this particular 2-pack I pre-ordered with the Maxine Dupree Basics. And Maxine's not in stock yet, obviously, and I really wanted to get this 2-pack in front of y'all to review, so I ordered one from Wrestling Collector Shop. And yeah, they just shoved it in a box. They shoved it in a box that was like a rectangle shape. It by no means was meant to fit a figure of this shape, and that was kind of a letdown. I mean, I'm going to open it, so it's not a big deal to me. I'm going to open it and review it. But if I was an MOC collector, I would be so ticked because they just shoved this thing inside a box that definitely didn't fit. So I wasn't too happy about that because I just thought of all the MOC collectors out there that might want to get this signed. That'd be really disappointing for them. So I wish that Wrestling Collector Shop would take a little bit more care and attention to packaging their figures because, yeah, this is an absolute disaster. But hey, let's focus on the positives here. And the positives are this 2-pack looks awesome. It looks awesome MOC. I mean, this would look great signed by Rhea and Dom in the future if you can get a hold of this to keep MOC. So we have an image on the left side of Dom and Rhea. Looks cool. And even the two figures packaged together look awesome. We got Rhea with her hand on Dom's shoulder, and she's holding the title now. One thing I noticed is she's up a little higher in the 2-pack. It's almost like they knew that they made her way too short. Now, is she too short in scale compared to Dom? We'll find out when we open it up and take a closer look. But displayed here in packaging, it looks pretty good. So on the corner, we also have this little stamp that says New Articulation 2024. Now, what that refers to is on Rhea, she should have interchangeable hands with extra articulation. And on Dom, he has new hips that allow for more motion compared to previous men's basics. So I'm excited to take a closer look at that. Now, moving the package around, we have a little bio here of Rhea and a bio of Dom. And boy, that looks weird because of warping on top of the packaging. Let's straighten it out. And then we have the rest of the series here. We have Kane and Mankind. Then we have Orangeburg versus Seth Frickin' Rollins. That's right. This is not Braun Breaker. This is the orangest human being you've ever seen. And it's not Goldberg. It's Orangeburg. That's who this is right here. So yeah, this looks really, really, really cool displayed. But I'm going to rip it open and we're going to take a closer look at the figures themselves. Main Event 2-Pack Series 18, Rhea Ripley and Dominik Mysterio. Now, Rhea's attire is from the January 16th, 2023 episode of Raw. On this night, the Judgment Day would brawl with the Bloodline. So as far as my first impressions go, I think these look pretty cool. Now, I am going to cover kind of the controversial topic, the general concern that a lot of people had when they first saw images of these figures next to each other at a packaging, and that's that the scale is ridiculously off. Now, I have to agree with a lot of that concern. And the main reason being, on TV, Rhea and Dom are usually closer eye to eye. I mean, Rhea has carried Dom around, and you just cannot picture this little Rhea carrying this big old Dom figure around. Now, let's start off with this. So, Rhea Ripley is billed at 5'7", and Dom is billed at 6'1". So, there is a height differential between the two in real life. And we have that here. However, I think when we see them on TV, between Rhea's muscular physique and her probably wearing thicker soled shoes, they are closer to eye level. So this does look kind of ridiculous. But I think what really makes it all the more ridiculous are the proportions. So Rhea is very muscular and this figure just isn't. And Dom, on the other hand, isn't very muscular and this figure is. So the proportions are just way too big on Dom and a little too dainty on Rhea. And I think that's what really throws it off. I mean, look at the sizes of their heads as an example of what I'm saying. Dom's head is about twice the size of Rhea's. So yeah, I think what really throws these figures off are the proportions. I think if the proportions were scaled down on Dom or scaled up on Rhea, they would look a little better together, even though there's a height differential. But yeah, these do kind of look ridiculous together. I have to agree with that general consensus concern online. But other than that, I think these are two pretty cool looking figures, as we'll get into individually. Now, the accessory that they come with is the SmackDown Women's Championship with Rhea Ripley side plates. Now, I got to take this off of her, and as you can see, I didn't get it completely on because this way of Mattel and even Jazzwares, there's got to be a better way to fasten belts. I mean, I could not get these prongs through these holes. I mean, I was close to Hawk Tua to get these to go in. And yeah, it was quite the process. So Rhea's title is the smaller scale, which is accurate. And we have Rhea's side plates. Now just let's compare it to her Elite 110. And we can see the difference between an Elite SmackDown Women's Championship and kind of a main event or a basic style. As you can see, the Elite style has so much more detail, in between the studs here on the W's and also all around. The gold's a lot more shiny and metallic, so they are different. But I honestly think for a main event or a basic style 2-pack, this title works really well, and I'm glad that they used a smaller scale. So I really do like this title that's included. I think it's cool. Now, that being said, let's take a closer look at the figures themselves, and let's start off with Rhea first. Alright, so let's start off with Rhea Ripley's face sculpt, face scan, and hair sculpt. Now, this was a previously used sculpt and scan of the face and the hair, but they made some upgrades to it. They really glammed it up. Now, this is not the same sculpt and scan that we got on Elite Series 110. I'm guessing this figure was manufactured before that, but I think the reuse of the sculpt and scan, they did an awesome job kind of glowing it up. Now, what I mean by that is, here's that same sculpt and scan on a Championship Showdown 2-pack that came with Charlotte, and yeah, it really doesn't look too good. Looking at it, I don't think it's printed on too well, but on top of that, there's just not a whole lot of features and details there. Whereas here, what they did is they really dolled it up. They really made it look like Rhea looks now. She has the black hair. It kind of even fades on the side, which looks excellent in my opinion. We have earrings painted and even a little sculpted in her left ear. Her right ear has even a gauge up top, and she has her gauges around the lobes. Her eyebrows even have a little slash shave through it, and they really went heavy on the eyeliner and eye makeup. We have the Judgment Day scale on her cheek, and then she has dark lipstick. So yeah, even though it's not on par with that Elite 110 sculpt and scan, I have to say, the way that they did this, I wouldn't be mad if they used this head on that Elite Series 110, because I just think it looks awesome. I think it looks good. And it's funny because I was not a fan of this sculpt and scan when it was used before, like on her Elite before the Elite 110. But I think here, the details and changes they made to it, they made it look awesome. So I think it works really well here. I think it's really, really cool. Now, moving on down to the rest of the figure. So let's talk about the body sculpt and the attire. So the body sculpt, believe it or not, I think it's an upgrade from her previous basics. Now, I say that because her previous basics were given these long, skinny Ichabod Crane legs that drive me nuts. They use them all the time on Charlotte, on Bianca, on Rhea, and they just don't fit. Whereas here, I believe they are thicker legs. So let's just throw in this figure here, and let's do a comparison. It's hard to tell because this has a pattern on the front, but yeah, okay, so we do have thicker, more muscular legs on this new Rhea that is a lot more fitting. Now, it is a little shorter than this Rhea, so I wonder if that's a little bit of a reason why they were going with these long legs. But I think this figure looks a lot better from the waist down because it does have more muscular legs, and these legs just look ridiculous. Now, as far as the upper body goes, it's just not muscular enough. I mean, I get with the main event or the basic women's figures, they just kind of reuse parts. They really don't make a whole lot of unique parts for the female figures. And I think Mommy is a prime candidate as to someone that you need to give unique parts to. Parts that you could reuse on a main event Bianca or a main event Jade Cargill in the future. So I really wish they would have gone the extra mile and given her a more muscular, kind of broader shoulder torso and also more muscular arms, because it just looks off. At least the legs aren't the skinny long legs that she had on her previous basics. But yeah, that's kind of disappointing as far as the part choices go. Now, as far as the detail on the tattoos, we have tons, and I mean tons of detail on her tattoos. On her left arm, all the way up her hand, all the way around the back, and they're very easy to read. It looks good. And on her right forearm, we have tattoos. So yeah, that's really a nice feature and a nice little detail that they took. Now, as far as the attire goes, this might be a controversial opinion, but I like the attire that they went with. Now, I say this because for a long time, I've said that the women's basics or the women's basic style figures they should release them in promo attire or street gear, because I think it's a perfect opportunity to kind of cut the cost down that they always do. Instead of trying to make these figures in ring attire and fail miserably at missing out on details, I think choosing a promo attire or a street gear, it works a lot better. I think it works really well. So I think this is fine. Now, obviously, with the basic style figures, there's not a lot of sculpting involved, but here, I think it works. I really do. I think my biggest concern in general with this figure is the part choices from the waist up. We needed a broader shoulder, more muscular midsection, and more muscular arms. But I actually think the attire is fine. Yeah, it's simple. Yeah, it's plain. But what they have here is really cool detail. I'm Your Mommy on the front. And on the back, look at that. We have the Judgment Day Rhea Ripley logo. And I think that looks really, really cool. So yeah, my overall thoughts on this figure, I really like the head. And I really like that they chose more muscular legs. However, I think the part choice from the torso and the arms are a little bit off. And I think that's my biggest gripe here. Alright, so as far as Dom goes, the first thing I noticed is, holy crap, his head is huge. This is a pumpkin head if I've ever seen one in person. Oh my gosh. Now, okay, I digress. Maybe I'm just used to reviewing the smaller structures that women have. No, you know what? This head is just way too big. It is gigantic. Now, I will compare this figure to a previous Dom Elite and see if maybe I'm just crazy, but as far as just looking at this figure, I mean, this head looks giant. And it looks giant compared to Rhea's head. Let's pop in Rhea's head here. Hello. I'm Rhea's head, and I'm half the size of Dom's head. I mean, holy crap. But as far as the head goes, if you go and distract yourself from the massive size of it, it looks really good. It looks like Dom. I like the face sculpt in the scan. I like the little teardrop tattoo. That's really cool. We have a little 5 o'clock shadow going on there. It looks really, really cool. And we have his signature mullet. And it's sculpted to perfection. It looks really, really cool there. Now, this might be the same head that they used on the most recent Dom Elite. I don't have it. I have a previous one from Elite 105 that we're going to compare. But you have to let me know in the comments if this is the same head that they used on that Elite that comes with the flannel and the sunglasses and the bandana. But yeah, in my opinion, it's ginormous. It's huge. Now, looking at the rest of Dom here, the first thing I noticed, and I pointed it out earlier, is his proportions. He's a hulking beast of a man in figure form here. He is way, 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 way too buff. I mean, I get it. It's a wrestling figure. It should be muscular, but come on. When Rhea looks like this and Dom looks like that, it's just silly. It's just silly, right? So what I do like about this figure is we do have nice tattoo detail on his left arm, even up on his hand, as you can see there, and his right arm up into his hand. I think that's really, really cool. Now this upper torso t-shirt is just painted on, but it is a sculpted t-shirt torso, so it works really well. It says She's My Mommy with Rhea there. On the back, it has Rhea Ripley's name on it. That's really, really cool. Now, the hands are interchangeable, and they do extend and flex, and Rhea's hands are too, and we'll cover articulation here next. And moving on down to the legs, he just has plain black pants. They could be windbreaker pants, but I think they're fine. I think they work okay. We have a little fold sculpted in, and then he's wearing sneakers here. So, yeah, I think this Dom is a solid Dom, but it's about as average as you can get. I mean, I don't review men's wrestling figures on the channel, and I know this is just a main event or a basic style men's figure, but yeah, this is really unimpressive overall. I could have gone with the all black theme with this t-shirt, but there's just some decisions that were made that just drive me wild. Like that head is huge. That head is huge. But either way, what we're going to do next is let's cover articulation before we do a little comparison segment. So let's cover articulation. Starting out with Rhea here. She has nice articulation with the head. She doesn't have long hair to prevent that movement, so she has nice movement here. Shoulder is on a ball joint, can move in all different directions. We have a single jointed elbow, can only flex about 90 degrees. Now the hands do extend up, flex. They also go in a circle, and I believe they are... Okay, they are... Yes, they are able to be swapped out, but it does take quite a bit of effort, so I would suggest boiling water or using a heat gun or a hairdryer before you switch out hands. Now, she has a little swivel at the waist. Her hip is on a ball joint, can move in kind of all different directions. See, she has a single jointed knee. I'm not going to force this because I've broken plenty of women's basics that way. And then we have a boot swivel. Now, as far as Dom Dom goes, let's see how Dom Dom moves. Dom Dom's pumpkin head moves pretty good. His shoulder's on a ball joint. He has a single jointed elbow. His hands, just like Rhea, can be swapped out. They can also extend up, flex down, and rotate. He has that waist swivel. His hip is on a ball joint. Now, this is the new main event men's figure articulation. That's an upgrade. Is no longer are they stuck in just the sagittal plane going up and down. They can go all around now, and that is really cool. I do have some previous men's basics, and this makes such a huge difference, not just for playability, but for posability and overall quality of the figure. So I really like that. I think that's cool. The knees are single jointed, can flex, and once again, I'm not going to force it. You can just hear it, how tight it is. And the feet can just spin. Look at this happy family here. Okay, now this part of the video, I do a little comparison. So on the far left, we have Elite Series 110 Rhea Ripley, one of the best figures of 2024 in my opinion. Next to her, we have the Rhea we're looking at today in the main event 2-pack. Then we have Dom in the main event 2-pack. And on the far right, we have Elite Series 105. Now, I really do wish I would have got the most recent Elite Dom to compare in this part of the video, but I honestly didn't expect to review Dom, so I didn't order it. But I did pick up this Elite 105 to kind of compare. So the first thing that you'll notice is that this Elite 110 Rhea, it is exactly how it should be. Broad shoulders, muscular. It is one of the best sculpts that Mattel has ever done on a women's figure. It is amazing. Finally, Rhea gets a sculpt that displays her muscular physique. I'm still waiting on a Bianca to get that same love and treatment. She hasn't gotten that yet, having a figure that's actually muscular as it should be. But this Rhea is awesome. And honestly, this Rhea next to this showdown or this main event 2-pack Rhea, it makes me feel embarrassed for this Rhea. It really does. Because next to this, it's just no comparison. There's just no comparison at all, honestly. I mean, I really was starting to like this main event 2-pack Rhea until I put it next to the Elite 110. And yeah, I just don't like this figure now. I just don't like it. I think the head's good. But the rest of it, no. Now, as far as Dom goes, well, this looks like Count Dracula Dom. Look at that widow's peak he's got. But yeah, so as far as Dom goes, his scale is about the same between the Elite and the Basic, or the main event, so that's good. But my thoughts were right. If you look at these two up close, this head is bigger than this. It is ginormous, ginormous. You might not be able to tell on video, but I promise you his head is just way, way too big, and I think that really throws it off. So yeah, if we're looking at today's 2-pack together, those look ridiculous. But let's see how this Dom Elite and the Rhea Elite go together. Now this looks awesome. This looks a lot more realistic, and yes, Dom is still taller than Rhea. He is taller than her in real life, but as far as the scale goes, it's much more similar. You can see that the heads are similar in size, and with Rhea being muscular, these two look how they should. So I really don't see much of a point. If you're trying to display Rhea and Dom together, I don't see much of a point of getting this 2-pack in my opinion. I would just go ahead, get Elite 110 Rhea and get that newest Dom, or get this Elite 105 Dom, because these two are just superior. And I know they are Elites, and Elites are supposed to be better. However, I do take that into consideration when I'm looking at basic or main event style figures, that I know that they're less expensive. But I think there are some choices that weren't cost-cutting choices that really make these two not very good figures. So overall, I give WWE Main Event 2-pack Dominik Mysterio and Rhea Ripley an overall score of a 3. I give Rhea an individual score of a 3 and Dom an individual score of a 3. So the 2-pack as a whole is a disappointing 3. Now there are a lot of reasons why it scored so low. But the number one reason to me is I just don't see any reason to buy this 2-pack. Even if you're a fan of Dom and Rhea Ripley, there are such better elites out there of each superstar that go together a lot better than these two. And that's another frustrating thing, is it's a 2-pack. So these two figures should look good next to each other, and they just don't. They do look really out of scale with each other. And as I mentioned, there's just better options of each superstar out there. So this was definitely a disappointing 2-pack, in my opinion. I understand the cost-cutting measures that the main event line has to take. But either way, I just don't think there's really any excuse for some of the part choices chosen here. And they had to have looked at these figures next to each other before they went into production and thought, these aren't going to look good side by side. But either way, real disappointment. I definitely don't recommend you go out and pick this up. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Now stay tuned, there are a lot of women's wrestling figure reviews coming this summer. And up next, AEW Unrivaled Series 15, Saraya. I'm super excited for that figure, and we'll see how AEW does with her compared to WWE and Paige figures. I'm real excited for that figure, so stay tuned, that'll be out shortly. Thanks for watching, and have a great night, y'all.